Good evening and welcome to the Harry Channel. I'm your host, the Harry Channel. Oh, wait, we're on a different channel. We're on the Minions still. Damn, I get so confused. Welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I am your host and keeper, the Harry Channel. And with me tonight is a fine panel, Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And a somewhat groggy DrFunctional.
Poor functional.
It's just one of those things where you take an unexpected extended, like you basically fall asleep when you mean to take a nap. Like I meant to take an hour.
Yeah, that never happens to old people. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, have I officially crossed the threshold into old territory?
Seems that way.
Well, once that starts happening on the normal basis, yes.
Walks like a duck. Quacks like a duck.
Eats a duck.
At least you got crap in your pants to look forward to.
Yeah.
Better get them to pans.
So anyway,
my pains have pains.
Yeah, oy vey literally translates to oh pain. So yeah, I've just had so many problems with technology this last week. I thought I would go off, I'm not as creative as you guys with your Warhammer things where you paint tiny things and actually have skill. For me to build something, it means just buying things and putting them together. That's the extent of my skill. Don't give me a paintbrush. That's not going to go well. So I thought,
did you buy things and put them together?
I tried to. I tried to build a keyboard. And what's involved in this for anybody who hasn't done this is you have to have sort of the base plate. Then you have to have the switches that go into a circuit board. And then the switch is the part that you activate. And then, of course, you have to have the keycaps. So I found this set of keycaps that I really, really like because they look kind of like an old 1970s IBM terminal. They're really cool. And then I sort of worked my way backwards from the keycaps. I decided, this particular set requires slightly different widths for some of the keys than some of the other ones that are similar. So it narrowed it down to only a handful of boards, all of which were ridiculously expensive. But I was course committed in my mind to do this thing. So the board was going to arrive. I had the keycaps and the switches were going to arrive. And I was pretty much just going to dive into this and start building it the second it all showed up.
Okay.
So I start putting this thing together only to realize that they only sent me 71 out of the 110 switches that I ordered. Oh, joy.
Because they were out of stock?
No, because they screwed up.
Oh,
the supply chain it's a series of tubes with humans at either end. So they screwed up and they only sent me some of the things. So I'm like, okay, how can I rearrange this to make it work until the rest of the switches show up? Maybe I don't need the numbers. I'm not a number. I don't need the 10 key thing. My taxes aren't done yet. I'm just going to put this aside. Sorry for the long exposition here. We're almost done. So I didn't have enough switches to finish it, but I figured I had just covered all the essential keys I needed and I could just start using it and be happy. Because the goal was these things arrive and then it was all going to work. I was looking forward to this project being done. And then I discover that the right third of the positions on the PCB board are no bueno. You go to hit I'm testing all these keys and I'm 2/3 of the way through it and I go to hit the enter key and nothing. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a bad switch. So I start moving things around. It's like, no, it's not a bad switch. You're just screwed. Because this project that you've been trying to put together for a few weeks, scavenging parts in the midst of the supply chain problems and everything else, it's just not going to happen. You've just spent a whole bunch of money and you have nothing. So, so I'm waiting for 40 more switches to arrive from Switch Captain in New York. And I'm waiting for a replacement board to show up hopefully tomorrow. And I'm seriously debating pulling switches out of another keyboard I have just so I can complete this thing, only to take it apart again and put it back together.
That was my next question was, what about cannibalizing?
Oh, there's going to be cannibalism. So that happened, and then I finally get back home to start the show and suddenly realize, oh no, you left a Thunderbolt cable and you forgot to bring it with you. I forgot to bring this one Thunderbolt cable back, and I suddenly realized, I had no idea that my entire computer setup for running the show depends on that one cable. That was dumb. So I had to rewire all of my stuff in terms of how the video works and all the hubs and everything because of this one cable that I left.
Because you had to get one extra cable out of it.
Yeah. There's another cable on order. So it's been a week of missing switches, missing cables, broken boards, and just me just beating my head against the wall a lot. How's your week been, Skep?
It's been okay. Actually had an interesting and fun day. Took my granddaughter to her guitar lesson. Met her guitar instructor. Played guitar with my granddaughter, that was fun. Cool. She's actually getting decent enough to, throw a little rhythm down. We can jam together. So that was sort of the highlight of my day. Just kind of a normal day, errands and chores, but grandchildren in and out at various times, other relatives in and out. So it's been an active day. I'm actually, I'm kind of tired, to tell you the truth.
You could take a nap.
I could so take
forever.
No.
Yeah.
Well, eventually.
Don't worry.
Serenity,
you'll never get old.
Week? Oh, did we lose Serenity?
There we go. I forgot.
There you are.
No, my dog decided that in 20-degree weather, he was like, I want to go for a walk. And I'm like, God damn it. So I had to bundle myself up, had to put him in a sweater just in case.
And this was 20 in freedom units, right?
Yes.
That's what the F stands.
Yeah.
20 freedoms.
It doesn't stand for French.
God. But we had to walk through the snow, and he bounced on some ice, and he's a happy doggy now. So, but yeah, he decided he wanted to go for a walk in 20-degree weather. So I had to do what I had to do. That's my boy.
Nice.
Other than that, it's been good.
Good. How about you, Functional?
Cleaning, sleeping, stargating, painting.
Yeah.
Not building my own keyboards though, because that just seems foolish.
Yeah,
it's pretty foolish. Oh, so just in case you're curious, let's
that takes more patience than I will ever have, Harry.
Right? I'll just pay
Like,
the couple extra bucks
you.
to Logitech to give me something neat and
okay, here are the keycaps that I want to use.
It's a good keyboard though. You've shown me pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are just the keycaps. $110 just for the buttons.
Wait, how much?
110. That's our
Yeah.
Harry.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Old school. Reminds me of the computers in my elementary school library.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
It
Very
doesn't-
comforting, very reassuring, very familiar.
Yep.
But it doesn't have the big return key that they.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
It's got this
right.
big
The
red
big
return.
return.
Oh, well, actually, the big return key, that's an
Yeah.
ISO format thing, and I'm an
Right.
American. I do temperature and freedom units. I don't get any ISO keyboard.
Yeah, I like the ISO keyboard better because that big return thing it's a comfort. It makes me happy.
Okay, as long as it's not some sort of blatant Frenchism creeping up.
No.
Hey,
no
hey, Functional.
accent at ease.
Is there Braille on your keys?
No.
Because
Hey,
I have Braille
Functional.
on my keys.
Oh boy.
Kirby's Cravings, 3-ingredient, no-bake chocolate oatmeal cake.
Listen, Kirby.
No
not
flour,
cooking. No,
eggs,
no, no, no,
or
no.
oil.
It literally says we love to eat, cook, and travel for food. You are not cooking. You are not cooking. You are an abomination, Kirby.
Okay, you're gonna love this. Here's what it looks like. Food. Okay,
It looks like one
It
of those
has-
no-bake cookies. That's all it looks like.
it has 3 ingredients: semi-sweet chocolate chips, milk, and quick oats.
It is. It's a big one of those big no-bake cookies. That's what it is. Literally, that's all it is.
Okay, so those are your ingredients. So you spray the interior of a springform pan, line it with parchment, blah, 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 blah. You add the chocolate and milk to a large microwave-safe mixing bowl. Basically heat it to melt the chocolate and milk. Fine, 2 minutes.
Okay, maybe you are.
Then you stir in the quick cook oats so that they're evenly combined, and then you pour the batter into the things and smidge it out with a spatula. She doesn't say an offset spatula. She probably doesn't own one. I don't trust Kirby.
Your batter
then-
will be thick.
Where you would think that there could be possibly some cooking involved, there isn't. You put the cake, in quotes, into the freezer for 30 to 60 minutes. Remove cake and let it come to room temperature before cutting and serving.
You can
Cake
store them in
needs
an
to come-
airtight container.
needs to come to room temperature before serving, otherwise the chocolate will be too firm. This is not a cake.
Nice spelling mistake, Kirby.
This
Can't
is a
even spell
chocolate
container
disc
This
right.
is silly.
disappointment.
Yeah, this is chocolate silly. That's exactly
I
right.
want my oats cooked, you bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, what is this about eating raw oats? What?
Yeah. She's probably
No.
some bullshit raw food vegan something or
Yeah.
other. I don't know.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
I can understand this if she has celiac disease. I still think it's blasphemy, but I can understand it. I don't think she has celiac disease because much like vegans and CrossFitters, they will tell you when they have celiac disease. So
Does that make them silly?
not that
Yeah,
makes
The
sense.
two people in my
Celiac
life,
disease. See how that works? Okay,
the two
anyway.
people in my life that have actually met who have celiac, these people were just like complete hypochondriacs anyway.
Yeah. Like
Hmm.
the
I'm not saying everybody who has celiac is a hypochondriac. I'm just a
No.
little skeptical
They're-
when
just like 95% or more.
Yeah,
No,
'cause, like-
Minions of the Zoo recognizes that celiac disease is a legitimate
oh,
diagnosis.
it's a legitimate.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
and it
it's
sucks.
legitimate.
And it's not
And-
subtle. It's not like
Yeah.
you
No.
hit age 50 and suddenly go, "Oh, I just found out that I'm gluten
Yeah.
intolerant." No,
You
Yeah.
know.
you would know by now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like me and milk.
Yeah. I was gonna
Unless
say, it's like
you-
people who are
a
lactose
teaspoon of
intolerant have
milk
milk
will-
allergy. Just fucks you up, man.
You know, I caught my diagnosis because I had some Popeye's chicken, and they use buttermilk batter.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
It looked like I was pregnant. You know, I'm a skinny white boy. I should not look like I'm pregnant. Went to the hospital. You've got hives in your stomach. It's like,
Stomach hives. That sounds delightful.
Yeah, so I can totally empathize when you have a severe food aversion like celiac or something.
Yeah.
Well-
I don't know.
On to other things that suck.
Don't spread your weird cakey things on me, Kirby.
All right. Well, on to annoying things. New West Charter School, I guess this is Los Angeles, or is it Louisiana? I couldn't tell. Caught abusing young unvaccinated girls, denied chairs, forced to sit outside on pavement, not allowed to use restrooms.
This is in Los Angeles, by the way.
I figured it had to be.
It is.
Now, this is a charter school run by morons. So for those
Mhm.
people that say charter schools aren't necessarily better, well, okay, maybe some charter schools suck. Like, say this.
Speaking of hypochondriacs, I'm sorry.
Well, this is the supposed soft coercion. It's like, well, we're not saying that we're forcing you to get it. We're just saying that if you don't, we will make your life a living hell. But it's totally voluntary because
Yeah,
you
well,
totally have a choice.
Yeah,
Well,
you
that's
have
the
a
thing.
choice to avoid the beating, basically.
what's
They're,
that whole,
they're being beaten, basically, by the system.
What were you going to
But
say,
it is-
Serenity?
it is that whole thing though of it depends on the person, because some people it will just make them go harder. Like, you're gonna do this shit to me anyway, fine, do it.
Yeah, what you're talking about is the psychological principle called reactance,
Yeah.
which is also an electrical principle. But yes, people do have reactance, meaning that for every push, there's a counter push. You know, literally, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah.
And that's good. I think that's actually speaks well of people. A little bit of that is a good thing because you don't want people to just be sheep. Otherwise,
yeah.
they're just sheep.
But it's
Reactance is a good thing because you should. I mean, it's one thing to change your mind. It's another thing to just be bludgeoned, just sort of nickel and diming people into it. Just
Yeah.
the 1,000 cuts. Well, we're not saying you have to get this thing, but we are just saying, here, stop hitting yourself. You know, it's just, no.
I want to know who took the picture. Whether that was a teacher thinking they could shame people online, or if this was like a friend going, okay, that's it, I'm done. I'm putting this online so this way everyone can see it. Because that's the one thing with social media that, yes, it can be bad, but it allows this stuff to get out in a way that before the teachers could literally just go, no, they're lying. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And just throw it under the rug. But now with social media, if someone gets a picture, posts it online and goes, this is what the teachers at the school are doing to people.
Yeah. In 1400, in the year 1400 in Scotland, these girls were taken out and hung or burned as witches.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, this is othering, pure and simple.
And I mean, there's other stories of this happening in other hives of scum and villainy, like in New York, where there was the one story about the child who got escorted out of the museum by police. There were other stories of children being denied space inside the school because, again, they didn't get the jab for whatever reason and were forced to sit outside in New York winter weather, which is a lot more severe. It's all child abuse. It's just varying degrees of child abuse.
Well, and now a charter school is a private school, sort of. I mean, I guess it's technically a private school, so they can do all sorts of things to abuse people. I do remember back when, like, what was it? The first was the Hobby Lobby case came along.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, look, because it's a private thing, they can do whatever they want. And I'm like, this is not going to end well. I predict you're not going to like the way this is going to go, because it does every single time something like this happens in politics. It just ends up being tit for tat. Oh, we're going to force you to give these people welfare. Well, if we're going to give them welfare, then we have to make sure that they're looking for a job if they're able. Okay, but if, you know, and then it just goes back and forth, you know, with just one side and the other just kind of going at each other. And the end result is you end up with something that just sucks. I hate this because, you know, this just sucks. It's the whole thing is because it's private. Supposedly you can just shit all over these girls.
It's tug of war where we're the rope.
Yes.
Being pulled back and forth. Yeah. Sorry.
Charter schools are independently operated public schools that have the freedom to design classrooms to meet the students' needs. All charter schools operate under a contract with a charter school authorizer, usually a nonprofit organization, government agency, or university that holds them accountable to the height standards outlined in their charter, air quotes. It is common to see charter schools led by former teachers who want to take the lessons they learned in the classroom and apply those lessons to an entire school.
Okay, so they would have to, like a public university, allow free speech under the constitution of that state, for instance. So there are certain things that change whether it's a public or private school, but regardless, you shouldn't be othering your own students. It's stupid. At least, I mean, if you really wanted to, I mean, I suppose you could set up like a separate classroom where an instructor goes in and you could teach like 5 or 6 different grades of just the people who couldn't get the vaccine for some reason. I mean, you could do that. It would be probably kind of silly, but you could do that. But making them sit outside and telling them they can't use the bathroom? Come on.
Sit outside, not allowed to use the bathroom, behind warning tape with guards.
This is
adult
nuts.
Guards. This is insane.
I hope this is just BS. I hope this is fake news. I hope that it's just not true.
I want to be there with you, Harry, but there have been too many stories of this type of stuff happening that I'm kind of leaning towards, like, this is just the insanity that the mainstream media has whipped everyone into it, and certain government entities have been whipping people up into a tizzy over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, and Skep's absolutely right. There are people who just kind of get off on othering people. It's always a mistake when you give the people who don't create something, they don't do anything of worth, they don't employ people. You just take these people who otherwise would have no purpose and you give them the power to be just the snitches and the narcs and the terrible people that, you know, like turn you in because your grass is a 1/4 inch too high. You know, that kind of thing.
Would you like to find out what really happened? Because I have
the
found
1400s, or
no, I'm I'm talking about this Los Angeles area charter
because
school.
the joke is that Skep is old. Okay, go ahead, please. What happened?
Unvaccinated students. Let's see. Los Angeles charter school quarantines unvaccinated students and bars them from campus. A Los Angeles area charter school barred a group of unvaccinated students from attending class Tuesday and cordoned off the area where the students were with tape barriers, videos of the incident showed. However, listen to this. New West Charter School of Los Angeles confirmed Tuesday that management had implemented a vaccine and negative test mandate for students and that a group of unvaccinated students had staged a sit-in on campus and refused to leave the school when the school told them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Video of the incident circulated on social media Tuesday showing tape barriers being put up around the students who were sitting on the pavement outside the school building. Local police can also be seen. They weren't made to sit out there. They chose to sit there. They were asked to leave. When they didn't leave, they were asked to, well, at least sit outside, and they put the tape around them. So that's what that was. And let's see, in a statement to the Washington Examiner, New West Charter School said that it had implemented a vaccine mandate for students following the conclusion of winter break and had achieved 96% compliance, but 6 students who did not follow the new policy still attempted to participate in classes. The school said then that it asked the students and their parents to leave campus, a demand the students refused to follow. Students proceeded to stage a sit-in directly behind the designated areas for student PCR screenings on campus, the school said. New West Charter School Administration notified local authorities who came to campus and helped alleviate the disruption, basically told them to go home or they would be charged.
So basically somebody took a civil disobedience thing and tried to spin it into something that it wasn't.
Bingo,
thing
my
is,
friend.
That's just coming from the charter school, though. Why would they have any reason to tell the truth?
Well, actually, everybody has motivation to lie. So all we have to do is we just look at what we see and we judge accordingly.
Well, I mean,
So
there's a quote from another girl that's down there in this article that's supposedly from another person who was there. So it's one of those things that, considering the fact that I grew up with a grandmother who's a teacher, there are good ones, but there are ones that if it makes them look better, they will lie their asses off like any human being.
Well, listen to what the school said and judge it on the basis of what they were saying.
Whether it's credible.
Parents who chose not to vaccinate their children knew what options they would have available other than returning to campus, the school said. While we respect the rights of parents to make their own choices for their children, our obligation is to the entire school community. When we have committed to implement a policy to assure parents that our campus is safe for their students, we will stand by that commitment. And so, but a California parent group, Let Them Breathe, which has posted videos of the students, said that in tweets that a lawsuit has been filed against the school.
Yeah, of course, anybody can file a lawsuit for any reason at any time. So.
Off of air.
All right. So, how about this then? Jordan Peterson has decided to step down from being a tenured professor at the University of Toronto. Do you want to take this functional?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, being in that city in Toronto, there was a certain level of I'm failing for the word, but like almost a sense of apprehension or like gas
foreboding.
Foreboding that like anybody who's been in this world of universities in Toronto kind of went, oh no, like he was the last sort of bastion of Canadian post-secondary who was fighting the good fight, so to speak. It might not have to agree with everything he says or stands for or believes in or blah, blah, blah. I know I don't. But you have to respect someone who's been a certain level of pioneer in their field. And he has been a very good established professor of I don't remember his exact title, but in his field. Sorry, my thing is not, my show plan was not opening. There it is.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, the main issue is that it was almost impossible for him to teach because if you chose to be his student to take his class, there was a stigma to the students, and so even the people who wanted to take his class were, I guess, afraid to for lack of repercussions.
There
down the
were
road.
certain levels of harassment and othering, and just like the previous story, where it wasn't forcing people to not take the class, but there was, yet, like you said, a stigma and othering of these people. And just to read the first paragraph from the article, I recently resigned from my position as full tenured professor at the University of Toronto. I am now professor emeritus, and before I turned 60. Emeritus is generally a designation reserved for superannuated, annuated. I'm too tired for this. Faculty, albeit those who have served their term with some distinction. So basically, when you're at the end of your career, you're a little bit too old to be teaching, and you just can't keep up, and blah blah blah. They give you this designation as sort of a righteous send off. This person is somebody who we should look towards for future professors.
And well, they often will kind of keep you around for show. or to occasionally do some mentoring or to do what, yeah. I knew a PhD who you'd walk in. I mean, basically, he wasn't really doing anything. He was just sort of being paid to be there, you know, and
at this point,
and look fancy. And he was like an older guy, and you could tell he reinforced it. He had like an iliac PEM memory module, which is like an old, like a really old computer. And he just have that just sort of sitting there on his desk, you know, taking up like one big corner of it.
Right.
So it's like, here I have some vintage computing hardware from like the 60s, just to show that I was there when all this stuff started. Yeah. So emeritus is, I think it's a good thing because just sort of putting them out to pastors. Okay. I'm simply saying I like the idea that emeritus is a thing, that basically you respect the work of older people who came before you, who were big contributors. And instead of just letting them fade away, you know, they can actually mentor and inspire and do all that other sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's a sad situation because it continues. I had envisioned teaching and researching at the U of T full time until they had to haul my skeleton out of my office. Obviously, a little bit of hyperbole. It's fine. I loved my job, and my students, undergraduates and graduates alike, were positively predisposed towards me, but that career path was not meant to be. There were many reasons, including the fact that I can now teach many more people and with less interference online. Yeah. And that's true. And if you look at any of the videos online from before his big blow up in the social media world of the crazies attacking him in the school, in the foyer, about how he opposed a compelled speech bill C-16, and then, you know, labeling him anti-trans and anti-LGBT and all these just slings and arrows. Look at some of the videos of him teaching some of his classes. They're all over online. His students are engaged. He's engaged with them. They are. It's a rare sight to see a full classroom where everybody's involved and engaged in the topic. You know, generally in when you see some of the, you know, there's some people who are kind of like leaning back and just kind of like staring glazedly at the front of the class or on their phones or whatnot. And the worst you'll get in one of his classes, from what I saw, and this is just my opinion, is, you know, someone feverishly taking notes on their laptop. But most of the time they're again engaged and enthralled with the lessons being taught. And I think it's just excuse me.
There's an even more famous example of a professor doing that maybe Skep and I'll talk about that in some future show. He's probably thinking about the same one I am right now. So let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and move it right along. So this is actually not so much a discussion of this article, as this article is a launching point to a broader discussion. I've actually set aside a fair block of time about this. So a few ground rules here. I'm going to have to be, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to kind of talk, so I want to try not to interrupt each other too much. But do try not to go too long because I'm going to have to moderate. And I'm going to be playing devil's advocate a little bit here. So don't get too pissed off at me, or I don't want chat. Don't think I'm a complete idiot all the time. But I've been seeing just the signs of decay, right? Los Angeles Police ID Sean Laval Smith as suspected killer of Brianna Cupper. This individual right here. Now, this is a 24-year-old student in LA. Or I'm sorry, UCLA grad student. And she was just killed, stabbed by this guy. She was working a job at a furniture store. And this guy basically came into the furniture store and robbed it and killed her. Now, what's stunning about this guy is the number of times that he's been in jail. Lots and lots and lots of times. Over a dozen over the last decade. This guy has just done bad things over and over and over again. And was still on the streets. I mean, on the one hand,
like 12 separate convictions for this guy?
like 12 separate convictions for this guy. And of course, they're not all murder. You know, this is the real cherry on the top of his career sundae. Yeah. We've been talking about these stories, and I've been listening to people talk about, their cure for these things. There was San Francisco is a book that came out, and the guy was a liberal. He was talking about San Francisco and all the problems and what he needs to do. And this guy's a liberal progressive. He's just had too much. He's not a conservative. And, you see things like the people who are in jail now compared to people who used to be in jail 20, 30 years ago. The stark difference you see is the number of times they've been convicted. It isn't just, I got in trouble once or twice and got thrown back in, or 3 times. You've got people that have been in jail and or prison multiple times. They just keep going back in because the system's broken. Now, the argument that's been made is that, like, for instance, like petty drug crimes. You hear about somebody who's found with a joint, they get thrown in jail for some amount of time, and you go, that's bullshit. Nobody should get thrown in jail for just having a joint in their pocket, right? Okay, we're all on board with that. And there's the libertarian argument. We say, people should have the liberty to do whatever they want. They should just have the liberty to do what they want. And that sounds fine. The problem is we let people do whatever they want in terms of like these minor drug type things. And what we end up with are streets that are full of homeless people who are non-functional. Just non-functional. Sorry,
not me.
Not you. But I mean, people that are just broken. Yeah. They're just broken and dangerous and crazy, and they're just ruining the standard of living for everybody. So we've only done the libertarian thing in certain parts of things. We're not willing to just let people die, right? But we're willing to let them push themselves to the point of being near death. So we've only done half of the libertarian thing. We can't seem to commit to being fully libertarian or fully not libertarian. If we would pick one or the other, we would be better off than where we are now. We have the worst of all possible worlds in that we're partially libertarian sometimes, and then we're partially, full-on welfare state, let's take care of the poor dears the rest of the time. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We have this horrible homeless problem. We have these horrible problems with crime, and all of the good intentions that people have come up with under the names of, ideals of, Enlightenment philosophy and libertarianism and stuff are just proving to just be bullshit in the way they're being applied. So what do you guys think? I know Skep probably wants a piece of this. Why don't we start with you?
When someone has a history like this, you have to ask, how can they have a history like this when they continually build up with, felony after felony? And this guy doesn't have 12 misdemeanors in his past. It's a mix of misdemeanors and felonies. This guy belongs inside a jail essentially for the rest of his life. He is incorrigible. He likely is immune to any rehabilitative effort on our part. I'm not positive society has, enough of an obligation to offer him much in that regard, as I think most of that needs to come from, self-motivation. As far as I'm concerned, when you do this repeatedly, it's a pretty good and honest and usually just sorting mechanism to take somebody like that and just say, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. We just have to separate you from the rest of society. That's just the way it is. You fucked up and fucked up and fucked up. Now you're getting older and, better at killing people. We're done. You're going to jail forever. And this business of some of these guys want to abolish the prisons. Have you heard about this? Let everybody out. Let everybody out. And that's kind of where this logically ends up. Do you want to have these people among us, or is it such an important societal good to protect society from these people? And I think it is that is a successful achievement of the hurdle. Put them away for the rest of their life.
Danny Trejo, the actor, you're probably familiar with him.
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, Machete, bunch of other stuff. He's a real hard-looking Mexican dude.
Okay. I think I know. Yeah, I think I do know who this is.
I mean, hell of a good actor. Comedy chops are really good. I mean, it's hard not to like Danny Trejo. Okay, he's a good dude. He got in trouble early on in life, went to prison, and it was on drug charges.
Yep.
And the only reason he was in there was drug use, basically drug use, drug possession. He wasn't selling to children or anything like that. Just that. He got in prison, cleaned up his act. It gave him a chance to get off the drugs. And he, learned a skill and got out and made a very successful career. He helps other people with drugs. He's like a sponsor, and he also goes around and works with groups trying to help get other people off of drugs. He's doing everything right now. So it's not like, it's a one and done type thing where Judge Dredd just comes over and, caps you in the head like a cow in the abattoir. We're not recommending that, but this tolerance of just repeat crime for these people that seem to be irredeemable. Is it a societal good to liberalize a lot of the drug laws that we have?
Yes.
Have we done? I mean, I understand that it feels right, but the end result sure looks wrong. Let me hold on. Let me throw this to Functional because I know he wants a piece of this too.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at recidivism rates in states, let's just keep it within the United States for now. Within states in the Union, places like New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, and New Jersey round out the top 5 for the best overall states for crime statistics. So they're quote unquote tough on crime. That means if you break what we would consider severe laws, murder, severe drug charges, we're talking trafficking and, these kinds of things, you're going to go away for a long time. However, the recidivism rate is very low comparatively to a state like California, where the recidivism rate is edging close to 90%. 90%. That means the chances of somebody serving their time and then coming out of the prison system, even if it is, they spend a week in prison or a year, their recidivism, they're more than likely to commit another crime of the same or greater level. As we can see with this guy, Sean Laval, if he did this, he gets out of whatever trouble he was in, and then he escalates, to the point where now he's killed someone that it shouldn't have gotten to that point, because the reason why tough on crime sort of works for a lot of places is that there is the clear understanding of the population that if you break the law, you're gonna pay. You are going to pay. So there's that deterrent. That's a great thing to prevent people from wanting to recommit once they leave prison. I think Maine was the best for recidivism, and I think it's great. As far as the drugs go, now we have to sort of leave the United States and the Western world, so to speak, because nowhere in the West have they fully decriminalized drugs like they have in was it Venezuela?
Oh, parts of Europe. I thought.
And
Portugal.
parts of Europe. Portugal, thank you, not Venezuela. Venezuela's a shithole.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Portugal and parts of Europe, where it's actually crime did not go up. In fact, in some places it did go down in some respects, not all, but in some respects, because what prohibition does is it creates a black market. That black market is the Wild West. There's no within the sphere of that endeavor. There's no policing. It's all self-regulated. From the quality of the product being offered, whether it be marijuana or black tar heroin, there's no regulation. There's no, are you getting something that's going to be clean? Do you know the dosage? Blah 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 blah. All these safety issues. And then on top of that, if you are in the industry of selling, well, what else do you need? You need weapons. You need hard men to protect your business and your product, which then causes big crimes like murders and a whole bunch of things we don't really need to get into. So again, there's that othering effect, which kind of escalates crime from being petty possession charges and you've got something that's not acceptable in the eyes to something that look at just down south of the border with the cartels. These cartels have, even with a quote unquote prohibition, they've taken over swaths of the country.
Sadly, I don't have the "That's how mafia works" meme.
That's basically how
I want to throw it to Serenity for a moment and bring up this, just because I'm a dick and Functional actually wanted to respond to this. So we have an article: "Cannabis use produces persistent cognitive impairments." Now, the article's not important. What's important is that we're still having a conversation about whether cannabis can produce persistent cognitive impairments, because this is one of those things I always come back to, which is me and my lying eyes, right? Mm-hmm. There was a street where the kids who smoked pot all the time hung out, and you always knew who those people were, as I was talking about high school, back, when I was young. And you always knew these kids
those
were.
dungarees.
Yeah. So Serenity, we're having this conversation about, whether or not drugs are bad. And I think, like anything, there's a difference between a beer and, 24 beers a day. You can take medication for pain, or you can abuse it and end up becoming an addict. I'm certainly not suggesting that there isn't a safe level of medicinal use of marijuana. I'm not saying that at all. But to say that it's not possible for large amounts of habitual marijuana use to cause impairment, I think kind of beggars credulity. We've all seen these people. You can pick them out of a lineup. It's pretty obvious that Seth Rogen is baking his brain into oblivion.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like it's pretty easy to spot these people, so I don't feel like I need this study to tell me what I can already see with my eyes. If you abused a bunch of alcohol, your liver would go on strike and you'd die. I mean, it's anything that you abuse too much is going to cause damage. So we've got these people who are being damaged by drugs, losing motivation to work, losing the motivation to go to school, ending up on the streets, using harder and harder drugs. And then we've got San Francisco. What do you think about this whole thing? I mean, any aspect, grab a piece of whatever part of this conversation you want, Serenity.
Well, it's my thing with, because when I used to work with the university, I had a friend who actually did talks about alcohol and marijuana use and all that kind of stuff. My thing has always been this: if you treat it like how people treat alcohol, where it's a occasional thing, or it is prescribed to you because of pain, or if you're a cancer patient to make sure you eat, that kind of stuff. I don't see an issue with it. But yeah, I grew up like, I'm in West Virginia, like pot grows like a weed here. Like there's literally people who bake their brains into oblivion. And there's also a problem with the science goes back and forth, but for the most part, almost choked. Heavy consumption of anything that has negative effects on the growth of the brain before the age of 25 is dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of like, yes, 18 or 21 is kind of the cutoff, but in reality, the brain stops developing that part at 25. So you should try not to overly consume until after that. Now, no one actually does that who consumes this shit, but that's neither here nor there. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it's like anything. Like, am I glad Portugal's been able to do what they've done? Absolutely. But I also think there needs to be age restrictions. I think there needs to be fines if you're selling it illegally, because I think that's a problem they're having in California now. Like, even though pot's legal, people are still
cheap.
selling.
The black market is cheaper because they've put so much taxes on it.
Yeah, and that's the other problem. And I think Colorado has the same problem too, if I remember right.
Canada as well, yeah.
Yeah.
When the government tries to get their greasy little fingers in,
grubby little paws.
Well, let me go back to Skep here in a moment. Because I realize there's a finish your thought, and then I'm going to go back to Skep because I want to talk to him about a couple solutions.
And that is kind of my issue with any kind of drug, and I'm this way with OTC stuff too. Like, I am that person who refuses, unless it's an actual like I can't do very much kind of headache, I won't take ibuprofen just because I am like, I can take a baby aspirin and it makes my headache go away. And I have friends who have to take 3 Excedrins to make their headache go away. And it's because they've and it's the oversaturation of the system, which causes more problems, which causes the whole degradation thing. But with anything, I just think we need to have restrictions on certain things.
So what do you think we can do about this, Skep? I like the idea of liberty. I think liberty is a good thing. I want to live in a liberal world. I don't want the government to have the power to come down on people over minor things. But I also don't want people living in shit in San Francisco, destroying one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I don't want them destroying LA. I don't want gangs of kids breaking into boxcars, stealing people's packages. Clearly what we're doing is not working. So one of the things that was suggested, at least in California, where the homeless advocates have proposed all these things, because of course we have to have an advocacy group for people who want to live on your front porch in the most beautiful part of the world, because that's like a thing. That's a right, of course. I remember, I guess the city of Santa Cruz once was proposing that you should be required to plant fruit trees in your front yard so that the homeless can just graze as they wander about.
Right. Yes.
But one of the big problems is their position is focus on homes for people, permanent housing. When you talk to a lot of these people, they will have this emphasis. It's not enough to have a temporary place for somebody to stay. They need permanent housing. So instead of providing something that's clean and safe, but not really where you'd want to live all your life, to just make sure that there's a short-term solution, but there's still incentive for people to do more.
Something like a halfway house.
Yeah, but they instead focus on giving a very small number of people something incredibly valuable at somebody else's expense. I don't know what the answer is, but I do think part of it is we need to the idea that we give anybody who is not the deserving poor, like somebody who's handicapped or, somebody who's in a special circumstance, like, they're handicapped, they're raising 3 kids, their husband was a veteran, got killed in Iraq. Yep. I will help you hammer nails. I will help you. I will chip in money. I will chip in my time. But just the idea that somebody wants to drop out of society and you should give them a free house. Fuck that. No, I don't want any part of that. Sorry, I'm talking too much. What do you think?
Oh, one of the things I looked into the study, and I actually read a lot of the study that's behind this study.
Mm-hmm.
or this synopsis that you published. It's a meta-analysis, which means it's an analysis of a series of analysis. They took basically 10 analyses, and when you do that, you any conclusion you come up with needs to be substantively supported by rigorous statistical methods. And the problem is that you end up making these subjective judgments. This is always the problem setting up psych labs. When I was studying psychology in school, it always ends up, corrupting the result by the addition of the incremental errors as you go through each stage of the analysis. All the decisions that you make that aren't quite spot on, eventually you fuzz up the data so badly that the information is generated by the data, and information is different from data. Sorry, I know you know this, Harry. Information, how much was I paid for the week? Okay, well, how much I got paid for the week is information. It is generated by the data, the number of hours I worked, times my gross rate of pay. So anyway, the information that is generated by this, at the end of this complex set of decisions that you make about these fuzzy things that eventually just makes any results, any conclusions that you think you're statistically deriving suspect. And the methods that they used, the types of judgments that I was reading about, just make me lose confidence in the validity of the meta-analysis of this survey. Now, above and beyond that, to address Harry's actual question, which is what's the solution to all the problems of California?
Well, just a subset of the problem.
Right, but it's a big one, and you got to look at the sources. Where do these people come from? Some of them are crazy. So fire up the insane asylum, start staffing them, get people off the street, get them involuntary committed to asylums where they can stop hurting people. That will take a little bit of the problem away. The other problem, the more pernicious problem that they have is organized crimes and gangs. That's not going to get better until they have an old-fashioned, we're going to crack down on crime. We're going to do some law and order things, and we're going to put people away, for good. We're going to kill them. We're going to do what we need to do to clean up California. They need to do that. And the other thing is, very obviously, they need to remove probably 90% of all the tax loading that they're putting on marijuana right now, and let the legal producers compete with the black market. If they don't do that, there will continue. Crime is going to continue to flourish because there will be money in it, and when crime pays, that crime breeds. You always get more crime. So those are some of the things that occur to me, Harry.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to take a look at chat because we've said a bunch of stuff. And remember, part of my job is to get the conversation moving. So I put in that disclaimer. That's always true.
Yeah.
Part of my job
I'm sorry
is
for the monologue there.
No, you're fine.
No.
But part of my job, chat, is to keep the conversation moving because I intentionally been poking at people to get them to respond. There's something here about me being happy to put unvaxxed kids in a classroom by themselves. No, I just think it's a fair discussion to have. You could have a discussion about that. The idea of putting them outside behind a rope, there's no discussion to have there. It's a stupid discussion about segregating the vaxxed kids. I have to be careful because it's one of those things like me being told to go into a gunfight without any firearms. I can't really defend myself without potentially getting the channel nuked. My real opinion is extremely libertarian, and and
Yes.
I wish I could actually say what it is, but you
Yes.
don't have to worry about me. I'm not. I wouldn't be othering any of the kids. If it was up to me, they'd all be pretty much the same and in a different class. Let's see. Has the state said anything about me being a horrible anti-drug person? No. Okay. So it looks like we're good. Did anybody see a comment that we need to address?
I'm just seeing Assassin is saying they need to station National Guard soldiers, experienced combat veterans along the border in aggressive patrols that hunt cartels with authorization to use deadly force.
You mean the border of California and the rest of the U.S.? Or
The southern border. Yeah. I'm
No,
sure he's
yeah.
not worried about us Canadians like bringing
I
drugs
think
into the United
he's
States.
talking about the border with Mexico. All
Yeah.
kidding aside,
Build the northern wall. Keep those,
the
Yes.
problem is that's
keep
not
those
where the
maple
cartels
backs
are.
and the maple backs and check.
The cartels are kind of hard to get a hold of. That's the whole problem with the cartels.
That's kind of the whole point, the
Yeah.
sneaky double secret drug cartel.
Bastards.
That's because they've been given such leeway for whatever reasons. Don't want to get too much into it, but we can't go down into their country and control the cartels. The best we can do is defend. I say our, using the royal we here, our border to prevent that element from coming into the country. We can't combat it at its source. That would just no. But you can and should take hardline stances to protect your own country from such a dangerous criminal element, because they are a dangerous criminal element.
Yep.
And they also interfere with the legitimate immigration and refugee status seekers that might be coming up.
So on the way home to set up the show, I was listening to is it Adam Carolla and Mark Gregaros? I forget the gentleman's name, but he's actually a Democrat from LA who's been a lawyer for like 40 years.
Mm.
And so they have
Mark Garagos.
Garagos, that's it. Okay, Garagos. Yeah. And they were talking about Venice, California, and all of the RVs. So people get these 32-foot RVs and park them and just live in them. Right. And so the point that Carolla was making, another one, he's often has really, very based insights into things. He said these guys park these RVs and then they set up their little installation, right? And then they go and they set up the generator outside so they can power their RVs, and they have all this stuff that they go through, all these steps, right, to basically make camp. Are you trying to tell me that somebody with the skills to park a 32-foot RV in Venice, to parallel park it, set up a generator, and do all these things is somehow unemployable? I mean, what you've described is a skill set. You have to have more skills in order to live your life this way than a lot of people who actually are holding down jobs.
That's absolutely true.
Well, if you're talking about the van life, schooly RV people, they don't want a real job. They're photographers and air quotes, photographers and videographers and Instagram people, and they want to be TikTok famous. And so if it's that ones, they don't want a real job.
I mean,
they want
there
to be
is
famous.
that, but when 90% of your jobs are McJobs, McDonald's or Taco Bell or whatever, that's not really. Just personal opinion. That's not really a worth trade-off, because this has been part of the problem of the discussion, is that we just say jobs. We don't say careers. And I'm sorry, but working at McDonald's is not a career. It is not tenable and sustainable to support yourself if you want to start a family or start saving for retirement or anything like that, unless you are one of the lucky few who gets into a management position. But again, the availability of jobs in the modern day is mostly what I call these McJobs, where they're service industry. They're not very, even these people with their skills to be able to parallel park and set up the generators and know how to maintain all this stuff, they are far too educated and skilled in how to do all this stuff. And that doesn't translate well to these types of jobs, which have been, again, I have to hammer this point home, is what is the most available job. You don't see people at I'm just, the transportation industry or these kinds of things generally broadly, not the positions not being filled. Now, if we look at trucking, these guys could probably make really good truckers, right?
Oh, they could at least drive an actual school bus. By the way, this is not Venice. This is Palo Alto, California, outside of Stanford University.
Wow.
Okay, and this has been going on for a long time because it's expensive.
Must be homecoming.
Well, it's expensive to go to Stanford, so some of them are students, but a lot more of them piling on are actually, basically homeless people. And because the people in Palo Alto would rather live with this than than feel bad about themselves. This is El Camino Real, the way of the king, and this goes on for the better part of a mile. Just these RVs and stuff. And this is way nicer than what's going on in Venice. In Venice, it's like this, except with garbage piled up all around it, and it's just terrible.
Oh, Venice.
Well, I hope everybody understands I want two things. I want everybody to be free to do whatever they want to do, but it just feels like if you're only going to be partially consistent with your libertarian policies, you're going to fail. It's like having open borders with lots of government benefits. Open borders are fine if you don't give people free stuff. The problem will literally solve itself. People will come here if they have jobs. They won't come here to get free stuff. Open borders are actually probably pretty positive. This is Milton Friedman's position too. But not if you offer lots of free stuff. If basically people walk across the border and say, money please, you're just literally inviting people to come in and live off the system.
There's a metaphor I like to use when talking about immigration. You have a cup, and you fill that cup with water. The water are the people. The cup is the country, the infrastructure. There's a certain point where the water just gets too high, and you have to wait for some evaporation, to sort of signify people being dispersed, making themselves entrenched into the country. And what's happening now, it seems like people just aren't aware of evaporation, as the analogy continues, and they're just constantly pouring more and more water in to the breaking point where sometimes these dribbles fall out of the side of the glass. We haven't gotten to the point where the water is just flowing and it's splashing everywhere. We haven't gotten to that point yet in either country, but we're getting there. And it seems like we need to have a genuine discussion of the people who can make these laws and affect these changes to make things better, where it's not just the far views of the extremes here, because a lot of what I see in the media and in public discussion is nope, shut down the border, cut it all off, which maybe sometimes you need to do just to sort of let people integrate into your country a little bit, and then you can open up the doors again. Maybe that'll happen. And on the opposite side, saying nope, open borders, which again is not really. I would disagree with you in saying even if it is a land of opportunity versus a land of handouts, I think would also be as equally, maybe not equally, but just as damaging potentially, because you need to be able to take account. And what immigration does is it doesn't, and this seems to be a misconception on the progressive side, is it's not a judgment or an abuse against the person who wants to take part in your beautiful country. It is a protective measure against the people who are already in your country as the citizenry, so that they're not lost to the wayside. There's lots of problems. Not every problem can be fixed, but maybe there are some that can be fixed first before you start introducing. And then, of course, you have things like when Assassin said, open borders, no national sovereignty, therefore no country, did not fight, blah, blah, blah. Those kinds of things. That's kind of a little extreme. And
no. I understand the point he's making, and he's right. I mean, it's just we're looking at it from
well, it's not a comment of what he's saying. It's more of that idea of the open borders. Because remember, even one of the biggest progressive icons of our lifetime, Bernie Sanders, was like, No, open borders is stupid.
No,
So
he doesn't say
room.
that now. No, the thing about open borders
No, he's got to
is
toe the party line.
I'm simply talking about the incentive. If you take away the incentive to come here, like if you don't have a job waiting for you when you come here, that's an insane thing to do. People won't show up. If you, literally, it's like panhandlers. If you don't give them money, they won't bother you.
Look at the reverse surge. What happened when Trump was trying to make deals with Mexico and Canada, the United States, to bring manufacturing back to these continents, as opposed to having it on the other side of the world.
Tons of stuff was already made in Mexico before Trump became president. But he's right. We really.
But look at what happened with the reverse surge. There was a surge of people moving down south.
Yeah, no, but I'm on record as saying that I would love to just replace almost everything we get from China with stuff we get from Mexico.
Amen.
We should just build Mexico up to take China's place. That would be great.
Or even here, because remember, like even when I was a kid, I remember one of the best jobs you could get as an unskilled, uneducated person was a good factory job. Whether you're building or packing or part of that chain, it was a decent job that could generations previous to me that they could work at, have a little bit of savings by the time that they're starting to look at retirement, be able to enough to afford a relatively comfortable lifestyle and have children, get married, all these things that is the American dream.
And all right, but I got to cut you off because we got to get this show back on track. I didn't mean to bring up the whole immigration thing because that could be a whole different half hour of conversation. I'm going to just do this really fast. In the Nobody is Surprised department, Google is going to finally got around to charging people who've been getting free email for their company's money. Duh. I think the comment most people said was, weren't they making enough money just data mining off of you? Well, once they've got you hooked, why not just take more of your money? That's like any good Ferengi can explain the story. So I'm just going to throw that out there and just keep going. Sorry.
Definitely a rule of acquisition about this.
I think it's actually more than one rule of acquisition.
Yeah.
This is
once I believe it's the one that says once you have the customer's domain name registered to you, never let it go.
Right. Yeah. You own them. They think they own it, but you
who's
own
the
them.
registrar to mail@yourcompany.com? Oh, okay, so this is one of these things that in a lot of ways I don't have a dog in this fight. Actually, Serenity, do you care about this? Did she step away? Oh, she's dealing with doggies. Okay.
Well, since not that I have a dog in the fight, but obviously.
Well, you're a console gamer, aren't you, or something?
No, PC.
but Warcraft.
Who do you think I am? But this is huge because this is like McDonald's buying Burger King and Taco Bell, and this is huge. Not only is Microsoft one of the biggest tech companies in the world buying one of the biggest video game producers in the world, in Activision Blizzard, acquiring one of the biggest video games attached to Blizzard, being World of Warcraft.
I didn't even know Activision bought Blizzard.
I thought
Blizzard was Blizzard and Activision was Activision.
No, they bought them like 8 or 9 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Which was there was that same level of like tenseness of, okay, what's going to happen to the game, because Activision bought Blizzard, and then they kind of said, you know what, you've got a product, it's working, you do you, and we'll just reap the benefits. And it worked for the last almost decade.
Here's the issue. Okay, again, I don't care, but here's the issue that some people have with this. You essentially have like walled gardens, right? In order to distribute to some of these consoles, you've got Xbox, you've got PlayStation. I don't know what's going on with Nintendo because I'm not that kind of gamer. And so what you've got is you've got somebody who's one of the garden gatekeepers buying one of the major suppliers. So right now, Activision makes games for PlayStation. They make games for Xbox. They make games for PC.
For Windows.
Suppose they just decide, oh, well, we'll just gobble them up, and this will only be on our platform. So it would be like Hulu buying some network And then you have to have a Hulu subscription, and then of course you have to have a Disney Plus subscription to get some other thing.
But
And
that
everything
already
just gets completely divided off. You're essentially making it so you have to have like 100 different subscriptions to watch all the shows you want to watch. It's not
Yeah.
very good for the consumer. That's the
Well,
argument.
now
It'll-
every game will have a SharePoint front end.
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, Harry, already happens in the industry. This is
Well,
just
yeah,
going
God
to
of War is a
take it-
is a Sony exclusive, for instance.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like
but
there
this
aren't
is going to
exclusive
take it to the
games.
nth degree potentially, and really send that notion into overdrive where people just want to control it and blah 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 blah. And funny enough, Microsoft is not only and this was the rest of these were buried with the news of this. Not only buying Actiblizzard, they're buying huge studios like Obsidian and Bethesda, and I think some of the other big companies that aren't getting bought up, like Ubisoft, are kind of like sweating because they're going, "Wow, they're now becoming a not not in the sense of business a threat, but like you said, to bring it back to what you were talking about, is they can now be complete dictatorial of the industry, and then potentially start doing some less than ethical business where they sort of slowly edge these other big companies out of the industry, and not letting them compete. Now that is something that a lot of people are concerned about, but again, there hasn't been anything in Microsoft's gaming industry to signify that would happen.
Okay, let me throw to Skep for a moment here. So, in my Econ 101 sort of way of looking at things, as long as other people can produce an equivalent product, the consumer largely shouldn't care, right? Because instead of playing Gears of War, you play Knobs of Destiny. I don't know, whatever, just making up games.
Ooh, I got to write that down. Knobs of
Knobs of Destiny. So you could just play Knobs of Destiny, and if you charge too much for one or the other, people will just go to the other platform and video game combination. I think this is only bad for consumers if Microsoft is incredibly dumb, if they essentially try to price themselves out of business, after they acquire this thing. Any more so than Comcast owns NBC, but you can still get NBC on Cox Cable and other cable providers. So it's not like you have to have Comcast to get NBC. Maybe I'm oversimplifying.
Well, no, I think the biggest change will be potentially for the players of those games if Microsoft gets in there and begins to change the way you pay for things, or starts insisting on a more woke character outlook, or something that pisses off the people who send you money. This is something I learned in business school. Don't piss off the people who send you money. It's like covered first day, and if Microsoft is smart, they'll say, okay, nice little cash cow, continue producing cash and do the things that you have a basket of distinctive competencies. They would call it in business school terminology, that you do better than anybody else. You're more efficient at them. You're more innovative. You're better reactive to the market, more tuned to the market. You have all this, silent investment, uncapitalized investment in your that makes you good, the best at producing these games. We're not going to mess with that formula. We just want to own the process and take what we can from it. If they do that style of acquisition, that'll be fine. If they get in there and start muddling with it, they likely will dilute the brand and potentially harm themselves and harm the people. As far as on across the market and like being in violation of something like the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1893 or the Clayton Act. Well, the Clayton Act is for natural monopolies, and I don't think Microsoft is really
No.
Twitter might be, Facebook might be, but Microsoft is not. So but provisions of the Sherman Act, would they fall afoul of that? I don't think they dominate enough of the market to even get to the penumbra, as they would say, of the Sherman Act. They would not get under anything that act, the kind of alteration to the market that the Sherman Act is made to cover will not be caused by this acquisition. That's my sense of it.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything illegal or unethical about it, but there's certainly the possibility for Microsoft to be dumb and shoot themselves in the foot.
They have
for sure.
I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely.
Chief risk.
Yeah, because if Microsoft knows how to do anything, it's extract money from customers.
Yeah,
and they didn't. They've been very smart about not overpressing their advantage before.
They sold SharePoint as a flagship product.
It is a flagship product. How dare you?
Jesus.
There's also something behind the curtain that I really want to touch on.
Go ahead.
Bobby
Briefly.
Kotick. Briefly, Bobby Kotick, who is the head honcho at Activision Blizzard. We covered a story a couple months ago of there's been some problems of some claims of wrongdoing, sexual misconduct, etc. at Activision Blizzard with some of their staff. Which drove down stock prices. Now, Bobby Kotick, the head honcho at Activision Blizzard, has been really buddy-buddy with Microsoft over the years. And for this to come out when it did, when stock has been in an all-time low, little suspect. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. I'm not saying anything one way or the other. I'm just saying it's a little suspect. It perks the ears, and I kind of want to know more about that. Which we probably won't, because that kind of stuff is all real hush hush.
Well, a lot of stuff, that happens like that. It's just non-disclosure.
Yeah.
And that's just the way things. Because if it wasn't for non-disclosure, a lot of things would just never happen.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. I'm in the industry. I sign NDAs all the time.
I've signed.
I was bitching to you about them the other day. Like fucking.
Well, I think I told you without mentioning what the company was, because I probably really shouldn't talk about this. I once had a multinational company want my tiny company to indemnify them perpetually worldwide. on what was basically $20,000 worth of work. That seems fair. That seems fair. My lawyers laughed and laughed.
I like how realistic it was.
Yeah.
And just doing my own due diligence, I have to read everything I sign. I read that full 40-page contract, which basically says, without getting too much into it, basically says, don't talk about what we're doing together. And it's like, okay, did you really need 40 pages for that? Well, yeah, probably, because the law is so convoluted.
Well, it's not just convoluted, it's by design, not for mere mortals. Even a comma being out of place can cost you millions of dollars. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But we're not going to talk about that right now. See, I'm skipping that. I'm skipping this. Let's just briefly talk about this. Apparently Netflix lost like 40% of their stock value recently, over time. I mean, they're having a lot of trouble signing up new people. They're raising prices.
They don't deserve this. Yes, they do.
I mean, I kind of I don't really feel like I fully understand this sort of thing, but I mean, obviously they don't have a monopoly. There's nothing stopping somebody else from coming in and taking their place. So the quality
of Prime and Hulu and
but the quality of their original productions matters, right? So how do they basically drive? I mean, what is their business? They license stuff for retransmission from various people who make stuff. They give money for that, right? Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. Hulu can do that. A new starter can do it. Vudu does it. Lots of people can do it.
There's no plant or really labor barrier to this. The only barrier to this, the only entry barrier into this market is capital.
Mm-hmm. And having a good legal team and having the necessary people to make the deals with the studios. As long as there's no collusion favoring Netflix, there's nothing stopping somebody from taking the business. So they produce original content to basically to differentiate them from everybody else. And they've certainly had issues with their original content because it's a meme now, right? That they've gone so woke that they just produce this kind of ridiculous stuff at times.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you try to watch their stuff, like the New Adventures of Sabrina or whatever it is,
Or
it's just like this.
Supergirl, yeah.
It's just like this woke crap. I don't know if the wokeness is what's killing them, or if people just don't care about their original content, or some combination.
I think it's the bad press.
The bad press that they're getting.
Well, look, there's been a lot of bad press of recent. Let's use cuties as an example. However, like we were just talking about with Microsoft, Netflix is like in that position where they're like, well, yes, you want to make a product. Here you go, make the product. They're not really, Netflix themselves aren't really involved in the production of these things. So you will get things that are super woke, like, or just disgusting like cuties, but you'll also get things that people really gravitated to, like the picture there of Squid Game. Yeah, the increase is kind of, but not getting too much into that.
Squid Game was a chance thing that came over from Korea. It just was hotter than hot over there, and they said, "Hey, let's pick that up."
Yeah, but I'm kind of remiss to.
It's a different creative route, is what I'm saying, than the
in a sense
the woke schlock that they get put in front of them, and that's why it is so different and so much better than so much of their content.
Oh, I agree. I'm huge into Korean cinema and Hong Kong cinema, but I'm remiss to blame Netflix for this because, again, bringing it sort of relevant to what we were just talking about with Microsoft, they kind of have a hands-off approach, and they just say, you know, if you have a good enough idea that we think that will make us money, we'll let you do whatever the hell you want. It's not really ideologically based. They're just saying, hey, do your thing. We're not going to say, well, it's got to be woke, it's got to be this. Yet they haven't gotten that far into dealing with the products that are being presented for Netflix. And I think that that's to their credit. I think that that's great that they have this hands-off approach where they just say, make us a product, and if it sells, great, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't yank Chappelle's thing just because people whined about it. So they do good things, and they do not so good things, like making a crap version of.
Well, right now, directors in Hollywood seem to be just sick with this woke sickness, and you know, there's a lot. They are getting presented with a lot of woke crap. That's definitely happening,
and it's really hard to make original content.
It is.
It's hard. You've got to come up with like an original story. You've got to put it together. I mean, it's difficult.
It's super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Everybody should watch the sales pitch channel. I'll link that in.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
This is where a guy is pitching movies. Anyway, it's a completely different thing. It's just
cool.
fun. I'll post it and go on to the next thing.
All right.
Well, I just had a question for you guys. Would you want them to take a more proactive approach and say, this is woke schlock, or would you rather them just let them bring that product to market and let the consumer decide?
Let me answer that. So just in the interest of time, because I have a strong opinion and I can say it quickly. I want them to produce lots of different stuff, and the stuff I don't like, I won't watch. What I don't want them to do is to produce all stuff that's crap that I don't like. As long as they produce enough stuff to keep me happy, and that's only 5% of the stuff they produce, I'm fine. I'm just a consumer who wants a product that's worth consuming. The other 95% of it can be nothing but Hannah Gadsby shouting into the void. I don't give a damn. I don't need to censor other people who have opinions that don't agree with mine. I just want my product, and I want to get good value.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So,
thank you.
I
think we can also agree while you're trying to find the next story that
I found
something
it.
Like cuties.
Here, look.
Something like cuties. It. They should have kind of looked at that and been like, no.
Okay,
that crosses a certain line.
MLK Day was here in the United States. So it used to be President's Day, but we gave it to Martin Luther King. So we had a federal holiday. And the people in our fine government decided to just shill relentlessly for whatever they wanted, basically saying, if you don't vote for this, the ghost of Martin Luther King will be sad. They were talking about the voting rights thing, you know, essentially their fortification of the elections. If you don't vote for this, Martin Luther King would be sad. I'm pretty sure we don't know what Martin Luther King's opinion was on whether you should have to show ID at the polls. I mean, has anybody done that seance? Do you guys know of any of his writings that say mail-in ballots without verification are okay?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's see.
I mean,
and
as
then,
a Canuckistani, that entire notion is alien and foreign to me.
it was just offensive. I was just really offended because, I grew up, watching the PSAs like everybody else with the bits from the I Have a Dream speech.
Mhm.
And yes, I do judge people by the content of their character. I don't give a crap about the color of their skin. And I'm not, I mean, that's always how I felt. I haven't changed one bit. I've been unwavering about this. I find every bit of this kind of co-opting of Martin Luther King and that's sort of these infantilizing narratives about, black people not being able to find the DMV, and all this other horseshit to be really kind of offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, don't even start with me. Okay, well, apparently Kamala Harris, there should be a picture here of Kamala Harris coming to California to talk
Don't worry.
about wildfire.
It's diagnosing the problem, Harry.
Yeah. So that was actually about wildfire risk driving up the insurance rates in California. Here's Kamala Harris. Now, I don't know. This to me is just funny. The fact that she's showing up in person at all, actually talking to people, is brave.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because usually when she opens her mouth, she just looks ridiculous. But one of the things that she was famous for in California was actually getting prison inmates and not letting them out of prison so she could make them work as firefighters longer for like a few dollars an hour.
That's exactly right. Free firefighters.
So to see her actually in California talking about wildfires is
got a lot of damn gall, bitch.
A lot of damn gall. I mean, she's got some serious cojones to actually try this. So props to you, Kamala, for being so incredibly tone deaf.
Being just one of the most gigantic assholes who ever walked the earth.
Yeah, just terrible.
Is this in addition to the disaster relief that they normally get, or is this?
Yeah, this is
up
to
$1 billion.
Things caught fire. This was just another $1 billion. Just here, have some more federal money that we took from you and we're giving back to you.
Yeah,
God,
you've been a good little victim. Here's $1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't recall Governor Goodhair, so here, just have $1 billion when stuff catches fire, and don't feel compelled in any way, shape, or form to do anything about preventing the next one. Because back when Trump was in office, there were fires and there were problems and there were calls for disaster relief. But Trump went in and said, "Yeah, we'll give you the money, but you need to stop being complete idiots about your forest management."
Yeah.
Here, it's just, well, we'll just give you the money.
Fix the problem. Don't just solve the problems that stemmed from the core problem, but fix the problem.
Yeah. We should just put trackers on everybody's cell phones. That'll make it easier to figure out where the fires are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Do I care about this? No, I'm going to skip this for time.
She's such a vile human being.
And let's see. So, Serenity, are you back yet?
Serenity is not back.
Okay.
Oh, something serious didn't happen with the puppers.
Yeah.
The dogs are giving her a run for her money. So this was actually something that she posted. There's this idea that 67% of Americans support a bill to ban stock trading by members of Congress. Not surprising, members of Congress don't like this idea.
This is why democracy is such a bad idea.
Well, this is, if you were going to do an analysis of whether democracy was good or bad, this would be one of the things in the bad column.
Right, absolutely.
Because even if you took all of their money and put it into a blind trust, which is the thing that happens for some people, meaning you say, here's my investments, you give it to somebody or some buddies who know what they're doing, and then they invest the money on your behalf, and you don't know what anything's invested in. This is what should happen with these people. However, it's not practical because how far does that extend? Does that mean that their son and daughter, cousin, uncle,
the money
buddy,
will always find a way.
The money will always find a way back.
Influence. Yes, yeah. Exactly.
There's nothing you can do.
That's exactly
that's going to keep the big guy from eventually getting his cut.
Bingo.
And if anything, the one thing that they could do, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, is they should just have more sunlight. So make it so that they can have these investments, but they have to be completely public about what they buy, sell, and trade. And so you can look at their statements, you can look at their voting record, and you can decide for yourself how bent they are.
I like that. I like that. Give the people the right to choose, as opposed to taking away somebody just because on the surface of things, I might be part of that 67% who go, you know what, maybe because there is a conflict of interest, but you know what, I like your idea a lot more to make it public, to make it, easily, if you're a constituent of a certain political figure, you can look at, oh, well, no wonder they're in favor of X, because they're profiting off their stocks in X. So that's why they're pushing so hard. Now, me as an individual citizen can make that decision. Well, I think that maybe that's a conflict of interest, and I'm not going to vote for that person next time.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell my friends, who will tell two friends, who will be like, you know what, we all don't like that. And then that could have a real impact on their conduct within Congress or Parliament or what have you.
Well, it's one of those things where if it's obvious enough, is as much of a paper tiger as it is, there could be public outcry, and that it could result in like an ethics violation. Does that really matter to them? Not that much. But it does go on their permanent record, and it definitely is the kind of thing that, like, you say, oh, my opponent, somebody running against him, my opponent has 5 ethics violations for suspicious trading activity. Okay, that makes it a lot easier to get them out of office. So just more sunlight. That's
like you mentioned before, it seems like this is the pendulum swinging to react to something that's bad, but it just keeps swinging and going to these extremes where it's like, that's not going to really fix the problem. It's just going to cause the next problem, which then will cause the next problem. Yeah. Oh, Serenity's back.
Serenity's back.
Yeah. I had to take care of puppies. But this is the one I put in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Spud gun. That's basically what I'm talking about. That's equivalent to a blind trust.
Yeah.
And there are people that do have those in some positions. But yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah,
but it doesn't stop their relatives. Yeah, it doesn't stop their relatives from making a bunch of money and then funneling the money to them in non-cash ways, for instance.
Well, if the rumors are to be believed, Pelosi is stating that she is actually not against passing that ban.
Pelosi says a lot of things.
I know, that's why I said rumor.
So I would like to see what her well, it doesn't matter, because even if you did ban it, she could just have her husband do the trade.
Well, that's the thing. There's speculation that if not in the next year or two, maybe just a little bit longer than that, she's going to retire out. So it's not going to affect her.
Yeah, she's going to ice cream heaven.
Yeah. Well, probably.
There's a question about what kind of puppies you have. But they're not puppies, they're actually dogs, right?
Yeah, I just call them puppies. I'm that person who the dog's like 20 years old, I still call it a puppy. There's an Irish Wolfhound mix, there's a Schnauzer mix. I think she's actually part Westie, but that's me. I have Labrador mix, we just call him the West Virginia Black Dog. That's the one who made me walk him in 22-degree weather. He's like, I want to go for walkies. I'm like, you're 3, can I hit you? No. There's another terrier.
Knows what it's want.
There's another terrier mix. There's a boxer mix. And then there's the outside dogs whose fur is so thick it doesn't really matter if they're in anywhere, and they can go in the barn, so they're safe. So,
palate cleanser time. Okay.
Oh, I love this. I saw this story.
Well, why don't you tell people about what happened?
So, which state was it in? Does it say? I know it was when the snow hit. I know that.
It was
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the Northeast got hit really hard.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. But basically, football coach said, we're not going to have practice today, but what I want you to do is go out, and it's the weightlifting. Yeah, the weightlifting workout. I want you to go find elderly neighbors or elderly people or disabled people in your neighborhood and shovel their driveway, their walkways for free. And I think, if I remember right in the article, it says within the hour, there were just picture after picture pouring in of these people doing it. Yeah. And they were so thankful for it. And it's like, yeah. It's adorable. It really is.
Well, it's that thing about working out. I mean, yes, they did a good thing, but a lot of times I think, oh, I could go for a nice long walk, or I could just go dig holes in the yard and start moving stuff around. I figure as long as you're as long as you're sore and you're working up a sweat, that's time well spent. I mean, I used to like mountain biking all the time, but just to get to the place where you would get on the mountain bike was a big hassle. So I started road biking, and because then you just like as soon as you're outside, you're getting exercise. I think that exercising in ways that's efficient is good. Why waste all that time with tackle dummies when you could be moving snow and then you help your neighbors? I think it's awesome.
Like my farm, like every year, because someone breaks a fence post, if not a few, during the wintertime, because they like to rub up against them because they're special, even though they have brush. So every summer I have to rip poles out of the ground and then post hole dig individuals and then do that. And because of that, my arms are actually pretty strong compared to the rest of me.
And it's also good for developing a good grip too. Yeah.
But and then having to wrangle dogs, I've had to pull llamas off stuff to make sure they don't kill it. Like it's just random shit.
I miss that shit about the farm.
Llamas.
Llamas are mean when they want to be.
Oh yeah, I know. Damn spitting things. And Minecraft.
Yep.
Nasty beggars.
Yep. I've seen people
all right.
fight those things.
They spit at you.
Oh yeah, I know. No, trust me, they don't like my mom.
You
they
actually
hate my
do.
mom.
I mean, in Minecraft, you do damage.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen people get attacked by them in Minecraft, but in real life, they don't like my mom because she's not their leader. But they see me as their leader, so they'll spit at her because they're like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, it's like, oh, you want me to give you emeralds so I can get a like a mysterious meat pie? Screw you, traitor! Kill the traitor. Take his lead. Kill the llamas. That's how you play Minecraft, people.
Yep.
Play for keeps. This surprised the hell out of me. Oh, shut up. Okay. Stars including Jay-Z call for end use of rap lyrics as criminal evidence. Now I read that and my brain hurt.
What?
So apparently in I guess it was New York State, they're proposing a change to the law that would allow them to basically charge rappers with crimes if they admit to them in the lyrics of their songs.
Well, I mean, if they admit it, they admit it.
Okay.
Yeah, but how much of it is artistic license? That's the counterpoint. And I hate to agree with these people, but I kind of think they have a point.
Hold on. Hang on a minute here.
Well, no, not hold on. I think they have a point that in the music, they may say they did something like OJ, if I did it. We all know he did it, but the point being that that's not the same thing as actually admitting that you did it, just because it's in a work.
The reason
fiction.
I'm saying hold on is
I
think before you can even discuss this, we have to understand what would prevent means. Would prevent rap lyrics being used as evidence in criminal trials. Does that mean that you could go out, kill somebody, and then because you used the lyric in a rap song, you could not be prosecuted for that?
No.
Or that you could not be arrested and investigated, or even investigated for that, for having said that, because that's what they're probably trying to get at, is they feel people are being harassed when they are suspected of doing crimes, and somebody who brags about it in a rap song might legitimately be guilty of that crime.
Yeah.
And the police say, well, we have a reasonable right to investigate somebody who does that. If what does it restrict judges from issuing a warrant when the evidence comes in saying we heard these lyrics in a rap song? And so we want to investigate this guy, because that won't happen very often, which makes me think this is all about show.
I don't think that part is included, Skep. I don't think it's a base of like, oh, I just shot him. I don't know much rap, but I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
That's
I
a
don't
good rap
think
song.
that they
I
can,
love that rap song. That's a good rap song.
I don't think that
OPP.
they're looking to say, oh, well, he just said it in a rap, or in a song. So now we're going to, on the basis of that, charge them and try to take them to court. I think it's okay. Well, this person.
Well, no, here's what happens is the police go and start investigating the guy. That's what they want to prevent. They don't want the guy's family contacted. They don't want all the things that accompany a police investigation to happen to a guy who sings these lyrics in a rap song based solely on the rap song. I think it's a silly law. I think this is about showboating and public display of virtue.
Yep.
And in point of fact, even if it gets passed, it's not going to do a damn thing, really.
Okay, so hold on. Let me rephrase this, because I think I know how to distill what Skep's saying down into a simple statement. So the question is, can there be different standards for the evidence used to obtain a warrant versus the evidence used to convict somebody of a crime? So,
they're almost all. That's almost always true.
Well, I would think that there would be, because your question is, could you use the lyrics of this song as grounds for starting some sort of investigation or asking a judge for like a search warrant? But at the same time,
what does would prevent mean?
Right, and in what context? It might not be admissible in court as evidence, like it might not be treated as an admission of guilt in a trial, but in terms of getting a warrant, it might be enough for probable cause.
Or are they saying that it is impermissible to ever present it as evidentiary in a trial? If they're saying that, that's a much larger change to the rules of criminal evidence. That's probably so large as to be unconstitutional by itself.
Yeah. So do you care about urban poetry, Serenity?
You mean rap?
Yeah.
No, that's all she talks about.
Well, no, I like because it's the era I grew up in. I like 90s rap. So
I like that new guy, MC Hammer. Have you seen him?
There you go. Yeah. I actually really like
Biggie Smalls.
Stuff, but anyway.
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls, Tupac. But like a lot of these people are from that era. Like Fat Joe is from like the very early 2000s, late 90s. Robin Thicke, well, we all know what happened to him. Mm-hmm. But I understand it's kind of the whole thing of if it's like a case like with Tupac or Biggie, where someone dies and then like however long, like statute of limitations, someone comes out with a rap lyric of "I killed this mother effer" on like in his own studio, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's an actual and there was like a known beef, or they were at least part of a crew that there was a known beef.
Mm-hmm. That
kind of stuff I'm fine with. But just hearing a rap lyric of "I killed a prostitute," let's just go with that one because I know one of them talked about it. If it's that, there's no basis for it because you need people to come forward, or you need other things to cite it. I think it should be an add-on, not the main evidence.
Well, right. I okay. So, for instance, if you're in a what is it? Can't remember those battles where people insult each other.
Rap battles, yeah.
What?
Rap
battle.
Yeah.
Is that a rap battle?
Yeah.
No. But comedians do this.
Yeah, right? Roast. It's a roast.
Roast battle. That's it. That's what I'm thinking of. So if you're doing like a roast battle and you make a joke about where the punchline's basically, I had sex with your mother, that doesn't necessarily mean that you actually had sex with somebody's mother. It's just part of the.
It's the rule of probable cause.
It's just part of the show, and I can imagine rap people saying a whole bunch of shit that isn't necessarily true. And I don't like rap. I don't listen to rap, but I don't think you could convict somebody based on an assertion, based on something that they said in a song like that, because it is a work of fiction.
What they're saying is juries are funny, and the implication is black people have a tough time of it with juries. There's so many of them in prison, that's some of that's got to be unfair. Yeah. And we just want to take one of those more unfair pieces away. But I think this thing is completely unimportant.
I think, I think Vanilla Ice is the best.
And Assassin of the Gray, it's not based on iambic pentameter because it actually predates. The Norse had flighting, Chinese had something, and I can't remember what it's called. Japan had something similar, so on and so forth. This kind of battle stuff, when it's spoken word in a pattern, has been around since human beings have existed. So it's not a Shakespeare thing. I know a lot of people try to point it at Shakespeare. It's not. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on board with you there, Serenity. Like, take the Chris Brown thing as an example. Like, he was found guilty of beating his partner. I don't remember, Kelly Rowland.
Rihanna. No, it was the other one.
Rihanna. Okay, so and so there is the basis for the case, the abuse case. Now, should they bring in a song where he's talking about beating her and doing all these things, then yeah, I can see them saying, okay, well, we're going to use that as a type of evidence in the case. But like to say that, oh, well, he made a song where he beats this woman. Let's start investigating his domestic life. I'm like, what? No, that's just no. You're investigating someone for their free speech.
Yeah, and that's
Freedom
kind of
of
the line
expression.
they have to dance, because it's like
That should be delineated within the law. Yeah,
it should be a lesser addition to to evidence, not the main piece of evidence. Is what
Well, here's a real artistic crime for you.
Uh-oh.
Mars gives M&Ms a makeover to promote inclusivity. Why?
advertising.
It's because they know they can, because there's crazy, stupid fucks out there.
So they took away the green M&Ms, who was, kind of was supposed to be the sexy female M&M. They took
Slutty
away her
one.
high heels,
Slutty.
so she can't wear her. I guess what people would call my fuck me shoes. She doesn't get to
Fuck
wear
me
those
heels.
anymore.
Fuck
Yeah,
me
that's what
heels.
they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw me
Fuck me
down and
heels.
fuck me shoes. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Well, she was voiced by Vivica Fox too, I think.
Is
If I
that
remember
that's
right.
a woman of color, isn't it?
Yeah, which makes this even fucking funnier.
So they're just taking away hard work for hardworking black women. Terrible.
Hey man, if you can get the easy money, get the easy money. Fuck it.
Anyway, this is
I look-
stupid. M&Ms are crappy.
Well, I look
sorry.
at. I don't think it is stupid. I mean, sure, I know what you mean by stupid, but I don't think it is stupid because this is genius marketing. You
Yeah.
got the people who will be on board who are talking about this. You got the people who are going, "This is stupid. This is insane." Talking about it. I don't think I've seen a single podcast this entire week where someone hasn't talked about this. So
Yeah.
it's got people talking about the candy, and this was just genius.
I know. Like the thing is, like, whoever is in the M&M department understands that this was a smart thing to do,
Mhm.
because you please the people who are looking for bullshit, who are never going to eat M&Ms.
Virtue.
So this way they leave you alone, and you're going to piss all the righties, not the righties. You're going to piss all the more bullheaded people off, who are like, "Oh my god, why are you doing this?" It's like, pay attention to what they're doing. And
Well,
also
what was it? Skittles that decided to take the rainbow and make it into all white Skittles because they said they were giving the rainbow back, but essentially they were destroying a rainbow and making all the Skittles white.
White.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
somehow that's what you're going to do
Oh,
for
yeah, no, like-
inclusivity. But
Well,
the
it's kind of
Babylon Bee totally gets it. M&M introduces new trans character who identifies as a Skittle.
Well, it's kind of like the whole the rainbow walkways. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, let's defame this with our feet. Let's talk
Yeah.
about and also Assassin. They're technically go-go boots. They're not hooker boots. Those are not hooker. Not even close. But it's that whole thing of like,
You're right. Those actually are go-go boots. But
Yeah,
wait a
those are
second.
go-go
But no,
boots.
the problem is she's so small that instead of going up to like mid-calf, they go up practically to her knee. So the
Yeah.
confusion with stripper boots, I think you could go either way arguing this.
those aren't high enough to be
Mhm,
stripper
mhm.
shoes.
Well, they're not low enough to be go-go boots.
But either way, it's one of those things. Like, I do think some of the virtue signaling is done because there's certain people in the companies who actually thinks this is a smart thing to do. But the way some companies are doing this shit now, I honestly think they're just doing it for free publicity. Because
Oh,
some
yeah.
of them, it's just like, you're owned by a Chinese company. Lying
Because-
sack of shit.
Because they no longer are really getting the returns from their traditional advertising budgets. Where are they getting these boosts in revenue is from social media interactions, which you can't really buy. And if you do buy them, they're artificial. It's not really a good
It kind of started with the Wendy's Twitter account, just
Yeah.
snapping back at people. And
Yeah.
but the thing is, you need, like Functional saying, it needs to feel organic, even if it's not. It needs to feel, and that's like this with like, I honestly think someone at Skittles was actually like, we need to give the rainbow back. But with M&Ms, I honestly feel like they're just like fucking with people.
Yeah,
I
it's-
really do.
it's
Like,
gonna
it's just
feel
a
like
weird
that, yeah.
feeling.
All right. Well, we're running out of shows, so there was something I wanted to show you last week, but I
Uh-oh.
didn't get around to it. And it's this thing that I saw. I may have already shown this to some of you, so I'll just give you the brief part of it. So there was this, when you make a crappy product and you want your crappy product to actually stand out, there are no limit to the kinds of gimmicks that people will come up with. But there's this thing from Japan
Oh no.
I love this. I may have shown this to some of you.
Oh
Ah. Have you seen...
no. No, but it's Japan, so I would not be surprised if it's weird.
So this is an ad for a fine product. It's a USB lighter.
Yes, I've seen this one before. Not from you though.
In Japan.
And I don't hear any sound.
Oh, you don't hear any
Yeah,
sound?
we cannot hear the sound at all.
I don't know.
Okay, hold on.
It's so weird, but it's amazing.
Hold on. There we go.
On a side
There we
note,
go.
a few years ago, Toyota Prius had a commercial where the entire car was made of anime girls. That was hilarious.
Nice.
There we go.
A B C D E F G おいらは未来のライター G G G O P Q R S T U S B ライター G G G G の G は G 世代の G
I mean, you know we're gonna get copy struck for this. I really
Oh,
don't
yeah.
care.
Banana. There we go.
Okay, so we've got the important stuff. It's like how to remember it because it's got the catchy jingle. It's the G lighter
Sure.
JII, but apparently that's A B C D E F G. And we saw its USB butt just a moment ago. And here it is. It's like in a parade. It's very exciting.
G の G は G
It's good for the
代の G
planet.
G の G
It'll make you rich or something. And it'll get you laid with conventional lighters. That's like an alien thing. They just hooked up. So clearly the lighter just got lucky. There he is
It got
lighting his
lit.
own cigarette. Look at those eyes. Holy crap. This is
That's
amazing.
That's disturbing.
But that curvaceous lighter gave him like a come hither thing, and then
I like the addition of the bottom cap on the floor there. That's
Yeah, I know.
genius.
oh, I hadn't even
Attention to
seen that.
detail.
Oh, damn you, functional. I hadn't even I've seen this thing probably 20, 30 times, and I hadn't noticed the thing with the bottom cap.
Also, that female lighter is a foreigner, so it's saying you can get laid by the buxom foreigner.
Nice.
It does kind of look French.
Look, now he's fighting off cigarette wielding people.
That is like a early 2000s laptop.
Man, a laptop with 5 USB ports.
Oh my god.
And now he's facing the storm.
Yatta!
So this is the
Oh my God.
look at
This is
see on
silly.
one USB charge he can fight off an entire hailstorm of cigarettes. I don't know why this amuses me so much.
That's
but
just
okay,
wrong on so many levels, Harry.
but this is the G lighter.
And
it comes in multiple colors.
So this is the G lighter from a while ago, but now it's all grown up and it's all more modern. And if you think this is weird, you should see what the new
しま
ad
った
campaign is
間
like.
違えてオフィス中のすべてのライターのオイルを体に塗りたくっ
Oh
てしまっ
wait. Okay,
This
I
is
have to
not
do
good.
no. Wait. I have to do it with the subtitles.
Yeah, you have to do
So
subtitles. 'Cause I understood
sweaty.
a little bit what he said there.
Wait. Subtitles, Japanese, auto translate,
Oh,
English.
God.
English.
It's gonna
English.
butcher. It's gonna
Esperanto.
butcher it.
Oh no, it's actually not bad.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
オフィス中のすべてのライター
I
のオイ
made
ル
a
を
mistake and wanted to
体
apply
に
the
塗りた
oil
くっ
of
てし
all
ま
the
った
lighters in the
これ
office
じ
to
ゃ
my
あタバコ
body.
が吸え
Then
ない
I
一体
can't
どう
smoke.
すれば
What should
そんな
I
時は
do?
ジーにお
Looks like
任
something you stick
せ
somewhere
オイ
else.
ルのいらないジー電熱線ライターだジーしまった間違えてオフ
I
ィス中のすべての
filled all of
コンセントに
the outlets
粘土を詰めてしまった
With
これじゃ
clay.
あ充電
Then
式
I
ライター
can't
を充
charge
電
the
できない
rechargeable
一体
lighter.
どうす
What
れ
should
ば
I do?
そんな時はジーにお任せ
God, like,
USB 充電のジ
They're
ー
so like weird,
何度で
but
も
also massively conservative, and it's hilarious.
I know. But
Side.
wait, there's a
Suzuki.
third vignette.
Oh,
here.
I know.
しまった間違えてハンズフリー扇風機を顔面
Yeah,
中につけて
little
きてしまっ
office
た
fans.
これじゃあ風で
The
ライタ
lighter
ーの
won't
火が
catch
つかな
fire
い
because of the
一体
wind.
どう
What
すれ
should
ば
I do?
そんな時はジーにお任せ炎の出ないジー風があってもつくジー
You weren't go-go boots.
ジーにお任せ環境に優しいジージーにお任せ未来のライタ
The
ー
face is insane.
God bless.
オフィス内は禁
I
煙だよ
choose the key in the office. No, stop it.
Man,
No. We will get
No.
copyright for that shit.
Richard
Yeah.
Pryor roast.
Yeah.
Japanese
So-
advertising has always been a subject of interest for me, but even this is just
Oh, like, I want to go to Japan, not for the weeaboo shit, just to kind of go, all right. I just want to see. How
So
crazy
everybody-
well, yeah, it's
we
a
are.
completely different culture. Yeah,
I know, it's funny as fuck.
So everybody, last week we had penis news, and we talked about Drake, the rap. Is he a rapper? What is he?
Yeah, kind
Performer.
of, sort of. Performer, go
The
performer.
performer who apparently some woman is pissed off at him because they hooked up, and then he threw the condom away but put hot sauce in it. And when she
Smart
went to
man.
basically steal his sperm
Smart
to
man.
try to make her baby daddy, she was a little surprised by the hot sauce thing. So if you remember the Drake meme, so it's basically Drake doesn't like one thing, but he likes
Yep.
something else. I made this.
Oh, God.
I made this. So,
Harry, bad Harry.
I'm a beast.
That's good.
yes,
That's good.
I am actually very pleased with myself.
I think there's a meme page on Reddit. You need to post it there.
Of
Yeah,
just
I think that-
of oh
Now-
yeah, I probably should.
Like, let
Now,
that
if-
thing go
if-
viral and just piss everybody off.
If Trojan or some other producer of lubricants, personal lubricants, were smart, they would do a commercial, not referencing Drake, but referencing what happened, hot sauce. Like doing something like this. I think that would be a genius marketing.
Ooh, or they come up with lube that actually has spermicide in it. So this way, you don't have to worry about doing Tabasco sauce. The little fuckers are already dead by the time it happens.
They actually do
Can't
have
tell
lube
if you're
with
being
spermicide in
facetious.
it.
Yeah.
I'm not being facetious. I
No,
know
they
it's
actually
already-
Oh no,
have
because
that.
they do actually have anti-spermicidal lubricant.
Yeah.
See, that's what they need to do. That needs to be the ad for the anti-spermicide.
This is like the time when I was a kid and I learned about Boyle's Law, and I went to my grandfather and said, I think I found a way to make food cold. I had basically reinvented the refrigerator 100 years
Got it.
later.
Good lad.
Hey, man.
All right. So
Whatever.
anybody have anything before we say goodnight? Hey, Sora. Sora's in chat.
GG.
Hi, Sora. You
Hey,
missed-
Sora.
Did you see the commercial, Sora? Oh yeah, she did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, she probably saw the meme. Damn it. We'll have to put it in the Discord.
Rewind about
it's
5
a-
minutes.
The
Yeah.
only thing that I would say, Harry, is that I sure appreciate chat coming out and being active like this. It
Yeah.
really makes it a lot of fun to see them, really actively participating in the stream. So thanks, guys. It's great to see you.
Oh, and Sora just took us full circle. Drake has already referenced flushing his condoms in songs. There you go.
Smart man. But
Perfect.
I do have to say this to chat. This is not at anybody focused. Just understand that 90% of the time, sometimes we don't see your stuff.
Oh yeah,
Don't take it as like we're ignoring you. Like legitimately.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
hardly a boomer, but I've literally got a sound thing, a camera thing.
Oh yeah.
I've got a spreadsheet. I've got a browser. I've got multiple windows. I've got to keep track of like idiots that I need to ban in chat.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of rely on
Well, I don't want
people
anybody
to flag
think-
stuff. And I actually, before we went into the discussion, kind of said, let's not interrupt each other. So
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's also
yeah.
like I don't want people to think they're getting ignored, whether intentionally or unintentionally. You're
No.
not. It's just legitimately sometimes, or if it's my case, you have top chat on and you miss it entirely.
And see, even Joel is suffering the earworm that is GG. It's stuck in my brain.
His dreams.
Oh
I'm
wait,
gonna
I love this, and I went back to find those new ads. It's like I put all the oil from the lighters on my body.
Elwin saying, like in the middle of the night, I'm just gonna wake up screaming, going GG.
All right, we should probably wrap this up. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm good.
All right, zoo's closed. Good night, everybody.
Stay
Good night,
warm.
everybody.
In a cold place, stay warm.